Welcome back to the Mindful Presenter Truth Series. Truth 18. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That's a quote from one of my favorite authors and speakers, the late Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Sometimes a lot of us can have a sort of fixed mindset when it comes to who we are, what we're capable of, what our potential is, especially when it comes to presenting in business and public speaking. We kind of have this view, this belief, this myth that to be a really, really good speaker, you have to be born with the gift of the gab. And people are born that way, and I'm not one of those. I've said it before in one of my previous truths. It's not true. And when you change the way you think about that and look at that, I promise you it will change. For example, if I were to ask you to just look in the mirror, take a long, hard look at yourself for 30 seconds or so. So imagine I'm looking in the mirror. If I ask you to do the same thing, and in looking in the mirror, I ask you to say and write down, what do you see? What do you really, really see? If I ask you to draw what you saw, most people draw just the face and eyes and the nose and the mouth and hair or not, as the case may be. But that's all we see with the naked eye. But we forget about everything else. To get to where you are, to be invited to even speak and give a business presentation in the first place, you must have worked really, really hard. You must know something that a lot of people don't know. So we don't see the other stuff that's in us. Let me give you an example of what I mean. I wrote a book quite a few years ago. In 2009, I think I published this. And it's not a book about presentation skills, by the way. You'll either love or hate a book like this. It's called Hamster to Harmony. It's a book about us. It's a book about who we are, how we think, and how we get results. And I learned a lot about myself in the process leading up to writing this book and even writing it. For example, when I was studying me, and when I mean me, I mean you and I, every single one of us, I learned stuff about us that I had no clue about. I could have written a whole chapter on the principles and ideas that I learned about us. Let me just share a few with you. A few things that I learned. Our heart beats at around 100,000 times a day. Our blood is on a 60,000 mile journey every single day. Our eyes can distinguish up to 1 million color surfaces and take in more information than the largest telescope known to man. Our lungs inhale over 2 million liters of air every day without even thinking. Our hearing is so sensitive it can distinguish between hundreds of thousands of different sounds. Our sense of touch is more refined than any device ever created. Our brain is more complex than the most powerful computer and has over 100 billion nerve cells. We give birth to 100 billion red blood cells every day. When we touch something, we send a message to our brain at 124 miles an hour. We have over 600 muscles. We exercise at least 30 muscles when we smile. We make 1 liter of saliva a day. In 1 square inch of our hand, we have 9 feet of blood vessels, 600 pain centers, 9,000 nerve endings, 36 heat sensors, and 75 pressure centers. There are 45 miles of nerves in the human skin. Our brains generate more electrical impulses in a single day than all of the world's telephones put together. That's just a couple of paragraphs. Think about that. We are incredible beings. A lot of us sell ourselves short. So I just encourage you to sometimes, when you're struggling, especially when it comes to an important business presentation and you're thinking, who am I? Whether it's the imposter syndrome or you're doubting your own credentials, credibility, remind yourself who you are. And they're just the internal things. They're just physical, internal things. What about everything you've achieved, everything you've gone through, everything that's happened to you? There's a ton of stuff that you can tap into. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. If you reframe the opportunity to present as presenting to a load of judges or predators to one as an opportunity of excitement and making a difference and connecting, it changes everything. Try it and see how it works. Thank you.